Well, hey there, folks. John Duffin here with Duffin Media and Duffin Coaching. Welcome to Killa Conversations in business. It could be in personal too, but these Killa conversations have to do with sounding your best and most true, authentic voice. It is great that you are here. What we're going to do, real quick and easy, is simply this. Folks, you're joining me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or on YouTube. We welcome you. Thrilled that you are all here. So, folks, chime in on the comments. Here's what I'm going to say, that the fact of the matter is, I should be able to see most comments. Right? If I miss one, I promise you I'll address that immediately after all of this. But here you go. If you're on the East Coast, anywhere near Philadelphia, PA, it's a gorgeous day today. So do you think I'm going to hold you hostage and keep you here all day? No. The whole intention. 3 tips, 3 takeaways, 3 hacks, 3 opportunities that you can get to use, practice. Easy, they're tweaks. And when you use them as early as today for your next call, your next meeting, your next presentation, what could you get to expect from it? Well, the hope here is that you get to optimize your communications. So drop a note in the comments so I know that you're here, that you know that we're working together. Folks, if you're watching on any of those platforms, I'm thrilled that you're here. If you're watching the replay, great. No problems whatsoever. We're just glad that you're here. Kathy Lee, back again. Yay, yay, yay. Thank you for all of that. I really appreciate continued support. So what I often like to do, oh, brother, Tommy Kenyon's here as well, too. Boom. From greatness. Well, he is great. So the fact of the matter is, we are delighted. By the way, LinkedIn folks, it's nice to be back. We had a couple of technical issues that we had to work through, but the fact of the matter is we worked through them. We were not live yesterday on LinkedIn, but I'm certainly letting you know we're thrilled to be back here today. So what do we get to do? The 3 tips, right? Stephen Heiser, yes, sir. John McBride tuning in. Wow. And now I am honored. I am absolutely privileged and honored. Love having everybody here. So why don't we get to it? I often like to ask a question. Here's a question to get started, right? When you are presenting, whether it is sales related, client related, hey, I come from the voiceover world too. Voiceover related, whatever it is, when you're typically speaking, presenting, hey, selling, it's a tough word to use, but is your intention to take someone along for the ride? We'll say in a good way. Is your intention to take them where you want to go or where they want to go? Typically, what is your intention? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. When you're speaking, typically, is your intention to take them where you want to go or where they want to go? Well, both answers are correct, by the way. Both of them are correct. But here's the rub. I've made out way better. I've gotten way better results in this. And I don't want to talk about me like this is some kind of a me thing. When I came to the realization, and it wasn't 50 years ago, when I take people where they want to go, they're much more likely to hop in the car. That might sound a little weird, but the fact is, it's like, say you're an Uber driver and you're going to choose to take to somebody, well, I need to get to the mall, so I'm going to go to the mall. And they're like, well, wait, I want to go to such and such, right? So the fact of the matter is, it is really important, at least from my experience. That's all I can share. My experience as someone who has done this and someone who has observed it, that the more likely to get someone to hear you, right? Hear your intended message is when you're taking them where they want to go, right? Of course, there's always more than two choices. I literally ran out of space on the page. And the few choices is great. I got you, and I respect all of that, right? And obviously, you're always selling yourself, but I'll tell you, just from my experiences, I tended to fare way better when I wasn't selling me, when I had very little to do with it. I'm going to share a situation. By the way, here's the way that we're going to run through. 3 tips, 3 situations, 3 proposed solutions. None of them are etched in stone, right? None of them are. And so the fact of the matter is, these are suggestions, things that I've watched work, things that I've utilized, right? I don't make decrees. I simply don't make decrees, but I'm going to go off of this premise, right? Something to share. Look, folks, as I've come to learn, it only matters if it matters to them. If you've been kind enough, cool enough to be on other trainings, the fact of the matter that I've done, this is a mantra that I've come to believe. So our job as it relates to the content, what we're going to present, always comes down to, again, it's got to matter to them, and it's our job to find the content, because we are often in a sales related position or an advisory position, or if I'm speaking to an audience, if you're speaking to people, whether it's one-on-one, a conference room table, a boardroom, you want somebody to do something that you want, but forcing people to do it, folks, they hear that in your voice. I'm not addressing the words today, and I'll keep repeating, the words matter. The content matters. It is critical. My job, my hope, my wish for you, right, is that when we are doing this, I respect the content that you're preparing. I respect the time and talent and drive that you found all of this. So whether you're pulling together the speech, there's some people on here, Tommy's one of them, that is a Toastmasters guy, right? If you're speaking to an audience, if you're paid to speak to a crowd, if you are in a boardroom presenting, if you're delivering voiceover, the fact of the matter is it always, the other person needs to respond. Each of the tips, each of the times, my mantra is all this. You want to get your intended message received, right? If you don't get your intended message received, well, then what's the point? Nobody wins, right? So, you want a tip? How about that, huh? Why don't we just get to it? Today's theme of the 3 tips I'm calling who, what, where, why. Think the role of a detective. And where I want to come in is how it sounds, how you can optimize the content that you've either prepared or that you're ready to deliver, so that journey that you're willing to take them on. John McBride, thank you for that. They have to enjoy the journey. They have to. John McBride is a voiceover pro and a public address announcer. That's just 2 of the cool things he does. And every time he does a live sporting event, and he's done a ton and has and announced me at certain events, John always says the same thing. The fact of the matter is, have fun. Have fun. And I'm saying one of the things that really becomes important is that element of fun. People hear it and they feel it, right? That's how you get people to come along for the ride. So, the who. Whether you're speaking to one person, whether you're speaking to 2 people, whether you're speaking to 100 people, whether you are addressing the nation or somewhere in the middle, right? It's somewhere in the middle. This is repetitive, and I'm happy to be repetitive, right? Which is talk to people, don't talk at them. One of the best ways to center yourself is literally remember you're talking to an individual or a series of individuals. Let me give you an example of how this can work. I was at a political event a long time ago. In fact, this former politician in the Philadelphia region has since passed away. We were at a television station in a huge boardroom. Now, some people agree with them, some people didn't agree with them, some people were simply there because they thought they could get business. These are the station people and salespeople. Here's what the politician did that I feel like drew everyone in. So there was probably about 30 people. It was a big boardroom table, right? Somewhere between 30 and 50 people. So picture this, and you're one of the people there. This politician, his name, well, he's passed away, is Arlen Specter. Arlen looked at each individual when he was speaking, and he wasn't racing or moving his body. The physicality was focusing on somebody for maybe a thought. You're presenting, you've got a bullet point. When you are speaking, maybe talk to me. When you're speaking and you're looking at a group of people, client meeting, presentation, whatever the case may be, and I promise you, I'm going to come back to the Zoom part about speaking to nobody, right? Damn right, let them hear your smile, John. But the fact of the matter is, here's what I'm going to suggest. You always find a specific individual. When you're speaking to an individual, drop it in the comments. I just want to hear, do people get lost? Does your voice change? When someone is typically speaking to you, I don't mean in anger. I don't mean when somebody is speaking well, how do you feel? Do you feel included? Do you feel that the voice, do you hear that connection? John saying, let him hear you smile. Or do you feel removed from the conversation? So, the who. You're always speaking to someone. The way my tone of voice changes when I'm specifically speaking to an individual rather than, and I'm exaggerating, a sea of people. I've done that before. Welcome, Joey Plishka. Nice to have you. If one person gets the message, a successful message, that's absolutely correct, because what you're looking to build is a sense of connection. When people hear in your voice that not I'm trying to drive a point home or slam a point home or sell you or close the deal, right? I'm trying to communicate with you, and I respect you enough that I'm going to literally speak in regards to a way that's directed to you. I promise you, they're going to respond better. Joey actually tipped off the rest of it. Everyone else is going to feel the vibe, and you're going to be able to then, in your mind, build the confidence in your voice, the volume, the tone. We talked in past training sessions in regards to the pacing, and I'm less frenetic when I am connected. I happen to do voiceover work, and I literally get dialed back sometimes with recordings because I've been told I sound sometimes a little announcery. So, by the way, all of today's top 3 tips are courtesy of a voiceover coach I love to death, and her name is Kelly McGee. And so these 3 tips, starting with the who specifically are you speaking to? And talk to them. Talk to them. If it's more than one people in a live set, in a live setting, well, then another thought, talk to them. Talk to the next person. Because that sense of connection, the warmth in your voice, rather than talking at people, makes all the difference in regards to engagement. And folks, all of this ties into engagement, which ultimately ties to results. People do things when they feel something. All the empirical data is great, but if I don't feel something, I'm not doing it. They say, oh, you don't work on emotion. I really disagree just based on my experience. I really do. I think you can draw the right emotion from someone. I've watched people do it, masters at this, where they're making decisions. And in fact, they're even thinking it's in that, oh, they're speaking to me, right? So the who, be really clear. Here's your bonus tip, by the way. Who, folks, is leading Zoom meetings? Now, I was just at a live event last night. It was magical, probably a couple hundred people. It was killer, right? And in person, face to face, you could speak, you could physically connect, look in their eyes. It was beautiful, right? An electric night. I stayed till the end, and I don't often do that. Wanted more, as a matter of fact. Now, is anyone leading Zoom meetings that's on the call? And if you are, drop it in the comments. And if you're not, that's okay. But is anyone ever speaking, presenting? There you go, Tommy. I got you. Absolutely. So I'm going to give you the bonus tip when you're on Zoom, because obviously here's a personal situation. So I'm speaking to a bunch of people now, and I know who they are because they're jumping in in regards to the comments, right? So I know who they are. I know their names, but you're not here. I still need to talk to you. I cannot just start staring into a computer screen. You want a couple of personal tips? The who. Imagine the person. Imagine they're right there. Authentic is bringing in points that are real. So when you're in a setting that's not real, like me staring at my computer right now and my camera lens, and it still has to be personal, not feel personal, be personal. So whether I'm talking to Kathy Lee and or John and or Joey and or Tommy and or everyone else who happens to be on this call, Stephen, bud, I have to see you. Well, pro tips. Number one, always speak to your camera lens. Always. Number two, picture specifically who you're talking to. Bring the point home to you. It warms up your tone. It warms up your voice. I'm not talking at people. I'm not talking at a square box. And when you do that, envision the who. Your voice takes on a whole new tone. And when that happens, you sound different. You sound like it matters. Really importantly, sounds like it matters to them. So that's your who, right? Oh, absolutely, Tommy. And as I said, you've watched people, right? And they're well-intentioned when they're staring over here, staring over there. If anyone on the call is old enough, I doubt it, to remember the old show, The Brady Bunch, and they had the 9 boxes, right? And they're all looking like this. Doesn't work great in real life, you know? So the fact is, look at the lens, bring the who to life. That's on Zoom. In real life, you're speaking to people. In Zoom, bring that person to life, right? So we covered the who at this point. Your next tip, the where, right? The where. Where are you? Now, remember I talked about the voiceover coach, and she's a genius and one of the cooler people that I know. Where are you when you're speaking to them? When you are in the boardroom, get rid of the sea of people thing. Speak to people, persons, one at a time if you are able, right? That is terribly important. Hey, Bruno Marsikowski, I see your response. Thank you. You're a rock star. And so what I would say is this. When you are speaking to someone, and by the way, this is magic on Zoom. Magic, right? You're painting a picture as to exactly where you're having a conversation with this person. Okay? I'm going to give an example. And as I said again, so I met my buddy Stephen Heiser in Columbus, Ohio, and I've talked about that a couple of times. A recent conference, Summit of Greatness. It was beautiful. So When I'm speaking on Zoom and I want to draw the conversation specifically to Stephen, I'm picturing where we were standing when we first connected. What do you think that does to my voice when I literally bring a situation to life? What do you think it would do to your voice when you're standing speaking to someone? How do you think it affects your voice? To me, it typically softens a little bit, and that's not a bad thing, right? Softening your voice typically sounds conversational, which sounds authentic, which will draw somebody in. It does slow you down, Kathy Lee. It absolutely slows you down. I've watched people, I've listened to people speak really quickly and frenetically. Unless there is a fire in the building, well, the fact of the matter is, it's scary. The productivity drink is an inside line, but the fact of the matter, it's 100% true. Standing up opens your body up. Darn right it does. We will get to all those things in a moment. I love this. But this is the thing. Picture where, when you're on Zoom, it's magic, as I said. But when you're speaking to a group of people, you want to single somebody out, picture where you're speaking, where you're comfortable. You won't lose track. If you're in a one-on-one conversation, you're connecting with that individual person. But if you don't have the luxury of a one-on-one conversation, sometimes you need a little help to draw that person in or paint the picture. Now, folks, you might be thinking, oh, yeah, but I don't really do acting or voiceover work. I'm not asking that. What I am asking and what I've seen is the magic of storytelling involves the other person. It isn't just about you. So when you are speaking, there is a killer book that I've been recommending. It's called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. This addresses the content. His lines, you're typically the Sherpa. If you know Yoda from Star Wars, then you know Yoda is never the hero of the story. He's typically directing someone else to do something else. Luke, go there. But the client, the audience is always the hero of the story. Always, always, always. So you've got the hero of the story is them. And these are all to bring the client's wants, the audience needs, the conditions, circumstances that brought them to you. Is it a sales call? Is it a presentation? Is it a speech? Is it a relationship builder? The best way to engage people is to bring them in. And I'm telling you, they will hear it. So the where changes your voice, especially when you're on Zoom. The productivity drink was literally the first time I was talking to Stephen and his wife, Allie. And I can still picture the warmth of that conversation and how we all, three of us, were drawing in. So when I'm speaking and I don't see Stephen, I'm thinking of that. And all of a sudden, I don't speak as quickly. I don't speak as frenetically. I don't speak as nervously, right? You get a hell of a lot more confident in the sound of your voice when you're thinking of those moments. So my strong suggestion is use them, please. The tip, the who, the tip, the where. And then, oh my God, I threw myself off. Boom. The most important one. I brought the wrong slide up. All right, we're going to improvise. This ain't about slides. It's about speaking. The why, the why, the why. Folks, when you are speaking, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you been in a presentation? Have you heard someone speak to you when you know it only matters to them? Close the deal. Land the opportunity. whether they're speaking to you on a one-on-one basis or if they're speaking to you in a group setting. How does it typically sound when someone is speaking, speaking at you with their own personal agenda? Have you ever experienced that before? And maybe a way that you might have experienced it, which I'll share, was listening to someone coming back to the same bullet points that were already covered, and even worse, what I could hear, a sense of exasperation in the person's voice, as if they were already getting bored or they were already getting frustrated because things are not moving in the direction that they want. So you lose engagement. Absolutely correct. It's not a right or wrong, right? But that's just been my experience, is the engagement goes. Folks, I'm going to go another old age reference. If you're too young to remember this, great. I admire you for that. Here's the question, though, folks. Do you remember the days, and I'm talking about 15 years ago, not in the 1920s. I wouldn't know the 1920s. I'm talking 15 years ago. Sales calls. If any of you were in sales, if any of you have ever presented, if any of you have ever been a part of a sales presentation, this is what I remember. I remember that it was a much more casual encounter. I remember that the time was often unlimited, and you got the chance to just air out. Does any of that sound familiar? Long presentations. Have you ever delivered one? So I'll share that I've been on both sides of that. And I can still lovingly recall that you could go on for as long as you wanted. You rarely even had to have an agreement of time. Now, when you can go on as long as you choose and the audience is receptive, they tend to be forgiving. So it would give a speaker a chance to warm up vocally. I don't mean la la la. I don't mean that. What I mean is this, that you got the chance to build up some momentum and they expected you to. In this day and age, does that even sound remotely true? Hey, take all the time you need. I'm just going to sit here until you get to it and you find your authentic voice. I'll just wait. I'm going to share an example of a case where I watched clients in horror when one of my co-presenters literally was going off into what sounded like the most endless sea of presenting I have ever heard. Now, it's not just what they were saying. It was the patronizing sound of their voice, as if they're expecting you to like it too. That sort of condescending tone. You're going to hear me talk about tone a lot over the next several days, but that condescending tone that you should like this, it doesn't happen. People freak out at this point. That's been my experience. And I watched the horror in the client's eyes when it was clear that this person was delivering some sing-song sort of presentation. Reminder, people hear when it's in it for them. It's not just your words. It's the way you say it. So how can you address the why it matters to them? Any thoughts? How does it sound when someone is clearly in your corner and they're speaking to you because it matters to you? How does it typically sound? To me, I've been told that I sound compassionate when I'm doing it right. Warm is absolutely a correct choice of words. It's the softest. People have come to realize that's sounding salesy, powering through, does nothing when it comes off. You're not going to close more deals because you're trying to force something or make it sound as if you know more. I know more. I am better. You need to do this. Absolutely. Perfect choice of words, brother. It is authentic at its core. Show of hands. I did this yesterday, and then I can't see anybody's hands. Drop a note in the comments. Does anyone like being told what to do? When someone's telling you what to do, and they say, I need you to do this, does it sound caring? I need you to do this. You need to do this. Listen to the sound of my voice. Damn right, no. The fact of the matter is, we go back to point A. It only matters if it matters to them. Zoran, my buddy, Zoran Peppersek. Thrilled to have you here. The fact of the matter is, the way you sound, you've got to be, you are in a perfect world. Sales, presentations, conversations where you're wanting something. My experience has been people need to feel that. And all of your data is great and meaningless if you can't convey the sound, the tone, the vibe, the feeling. Everything that I'm talking about has to do with optimizing the content, not removing it, not having you get lazy and just talk to somebody. Make it matter. As importantly, authentically make it sound like it matters to them, right? Yeah, right? Nobody wants to be told what to do. And people, and again, I'm exaggerating with body language, but it's like, you need to, have you heard people do that? You don't hear people do that on commercials anymore. And they are trying to sell you something. That's their whole intent. The fact of the matter is, but you don't hear that because nobody wants to be told what to do, except for apparently Zoran, who likes to have his wife tell him what to do. But how does it sound? How does it sound? It's not the orders that you're getting, Zoran. How does it sound? Is it convincing enough that you want to do it? Again, folks, the way that you speak matters. Nobody needs to sound pretty. Nobody needs to sound like an announcer. They don't want you to be an announcer anymore. I promise you I know that. As I said, I get dialed back on some voiceover auditions, and I'm like, I'm just talking. You sound like an announcer. So the fact is, don't. So the 3 takeaways today in terms of remembering, it only matters if it matters to them, right? The 3, focus on specific people, not C's of people, the who, and talk to them. And then talk to the next person. And then talk to the next person. Presentations to me are a series of small conversations. I've been told by the best in the business, some have watched me and observed me, that they like what I do because everything sounds like I'm either talking to my best friend or sounding like I'm talking to, a group of friends. Well, it's helped me. It's really helped me. So it's the who, the where. If you need to, in a Zoom conversation especially, paint a legit picture as to where you're speaking. It just makes it more real. Look at the camera lens. Think of the individual person. Think of the situation. And then lastly, why? Why would it matter to them? Not just what you're saying, how you're saying it, right? So, folks, those are my 3 tips for the day. Now, because you guys were all cool and contributed like crazy, I thank you for all of this. I'm going to make an offer, an easy one, right? Anybody who wants to continue further with me, there's a lot of stuff that I get to do. I offer a discovery call to anyone. First time discovery call, 30-minute discovery call. We could talk about anything specific that you'd like. in regards to optimizing your communications. No obligation to do anything, including that call, right? But I dropped my email address in there. Send me an email, jd@duffinmedia.com, and I would gladly talk in specifics with you, right? And I hope you do. And we could have fun doing it and making the business situations more personal. But folks, I am thrilled that you made the time today. Absolutely over the moon. Those are the 3 tips. And best of all, we come back tomorrow at 12 noon. So Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, we're going to be here. Folks, if you're watching on the replay, enjoy every single bit of this. Any questions before we bounce? Love it. Zoran, you rock. Thank you for saying that. Of course, I'm going to highlight that. Folks, I think you're outstanding. Thanks so much for showing up for me today and participating. You just made it really fun for me, right? So have a fantastic day. If you're free tomorrow around 12 noon, I'll be right here, and hopefully you will be as well. Have a wonderful day. Cheers to optimizing your communications by leveraging your voice. John Duffin here, and we'll talk soon. Bye.